A Fox News host believes that it was liberal policies that prevented motorists from being able to escape during the massive snowstorm that shut down the I-95 interstate. So now on Monday morning, a massive snowstorm hit the Richmond, Virginia area, dumping about a foot of snow onto the highway. Now, of course, that led to some massive traffic problems. The weather did. You ended up having a truck that jackknifed on I-95, which led to just an enormous pileup of cars. It got so bad that both lanes of traffic ended up being closed. So now, in fact, both lanes in 40 miles, so 40 miles both ways, there was just no movement at all. No movement at all. And that's in between the highway between Richmond and Washington, D.C. So now, again, the storm was so bad, you had about 2 inches of snow falling an hour. You had reduced visibility. You also had rain that had previously fallen and a road that was not treated. So they couldn't pre-treat the road because you had the rain, would have washed the treatment off the road. But then, of course, you had the freezing temperatures, you had the ice, and then on top of it, you had the snow. That's pretty bad. As a result of all of this, you had thousands of people in their cars that were stranded in freezing temperatures, some overnight, some without food or water, and just an absolutely disastrous situation. Now, thankfully, of course, there were no deaths, there were no major injuries. So we can be pretty thankful about that. Nonetheless, when talking about this, Fox News host Dana Perino decides that she's going to now assign blame for the lack of a fast rescue effort by saying that if only we had not demilitarized the police.
Governor Northam is probably counting the days until this is no longer his job, not Youngkin's yet. I want to point out one thing that I do not believe has been said yet. I talked to a state legislator there in Virginia, and he pointed out to me that in the last several years, many on the left made a decision that local sheriffs should not be allowed to have military-grade equipment, right? Because they said that that was a bad symbol and that it was too militaristic and authoritarian. But imagine if they were still allowed to have the equipment that they had just a few years ago, it probably would have come in very helpful today.
You want to know why no one has said that? Because it's dumb. Because that's a really stupid thing to say. God, I wish the cops had had militarized gear, because that would have helped during a snowstorm. What are you going to do? What are you going to have them arrest the snow? Are you going to have them, shoot it for resisting arrest? What is wrong with you? That makes absolutely no goddamn sense at all. Where did she sit there and think, I'm going to add this to the conversation, and then go, nailed it? What are you talking about? Now, I'm not saying that, of course, there aren't vehicles that the military has that are able to go through snow, but seriously, you're going to keep one of those on hand for a snowstorm? No, most likely you're going to end up using it to, I don't know, intimidate black people, essentially. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Okay. Now, no, the big problem here is that it's not because cops didn't have enough military equipment to go in and save the people stuck on I-95, right? No. I think the big problem here, wait for it, is, hey, you coming into work today? Bosses. Capitalism. Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. So think about it this way, right? Snowstorm. People usually don't get time off for snowstorms. You don't get paid time off for sure. No, bosses be like, hey, you coming into work today? Well, we just got a foot of snow. Yeah, you'll be fine. Make sure not to be late, too. We'll dock you points for that. What the fuck? So all of these people Yeah, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them going back and forth to work. Well, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to have accidents. You're going to have slowdowns. You're going to have because of the inclement weather. And so that's what you're going to have. In fact, look, we're having a snowstorm here in my state right now, Michigan. And, you know, that snowstorm, it's already shut down one of the major highways. Because of, guess what? Accidents, because, hey, you coming into work, right? But look, they had up to 11 inches of snow in the area within a couple of hours. And state police had warned that, hey, look, you should avoid driving unless absolutely necessary. Because again, there was rain, then there was snow, and the roads were not treated, and it was just an absolute mess. They were not cleared. It was a disaster. Now, apparently, absolutely necessary in this country means you're coming into work. No, I don't want to come into work to, you know, make my boss additional profit by putting my life on the line, driving in a snowstorm. That's stupid. That's just really dumb. But again, to add on to that, what place is going to be open? Most of Central Virginia ended up losing power. That said, let's get to the blame, right? Because actually, before, you know, in the space before I showed you the clip, right? Because they had an earlier discussion, there were people blaming Glenn Youngkin. Now, fairly enough, Glenn Youngkin, that's not his fault either. Glenn Youngkin's not even governor yet. He hasn't taken power yet, I should say. But then they turn around and they blame liberal policies like demilitarization and then go after Ralph Northam. Now, Ralph Northam, again, what he said is, and by the way, this some criticism, and I can understand the criticism from people who are stuck in that because they're like, God damn it, I want to get out of here. I'm stuck. Well, Northam did say that, hey, look, we could have requested a National Guard. That was one of the criticisms. Why didn't you bring out the National Guard? Well, he said that, look, we've got manpower, but did you see it outside? It's kind of really hard to get the crews there. We've got crews out there, but we've got to get the equipment. We got to get the workers through the ice and snow and the broken down cars. And it's going to be a while before we get this cleared up, before we can actually start. And not only that, we got to pick up the truck that had jackknifed, you know, and all the cars that had crashed. That's going to take time. Unfortunately. And not only that, but look, here's the other thing. The state response is setting up places, you know, where people could get warm, you know, food and water and things like that. And so they did do what they could as a response. I don't see how additional military people, or I should say additional police with military gear, I don't see how they would help that, how they would assist with that situation. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's pretty stupid, not a good idea. And so now, let me go to Marcy Parker, right, who pointed out that, again, the affected section of the interstate was not pre-treated because of the heavy rain that preceded the snow, which fell at times as fast as 2 inches an hour. This was entirely too much for us to keep up with. And so understand, like, Mother Nature, there's not much you can do when she decides to take a big, giant, snowy dump on our heads. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got
big, massive dumps
of snow. Sometimes it happens. It's called winter time. It's called winter. And so sometimes the best thing that you can do is you got to try to prepare for it, you know, get some supplies and, you know, get yourself ready, hunker down, you know? But unfortunately, with our kind of capitalist system and our world, we're not allowed to do that. No. Unless it's like a hurricane that's going to blow down your store, you're coming into work. And that's it. You get your ass on the road. I don't care if you're sliding around, you're getting out here, you're getting back to work. And so, now there's a lot of people that are saying, look, Jeff, you make sense, but I can't afford to stay home for a day. Even if there's inclement weather, we can't afford to do that. We got bills to pay. And even if they allow us to stay home, we're going to miss a day of pay. Again, we're living on the edge here. We can't afford to take a day off. I hear you, brothers and sisters. I get you. And that's why we need to start paying people to stay home during inclement weather. I know that sounds insane because no one else does that. Like, nobody does that. But we should. We should. And this kind of really shows you how far into corporate rule we actually are. How we value the profit margins of a corporation more than we do human lives. You know what I'm saying? Again, I think we should pay people to stay home during inclement weather if they can't get to work, if it's too dangerous to travel. If the government says, hey, you really shouldn't travel, then you shouldn't have to travel. That's it. And you should instead, use that time. Yes, government workers will have to go out and we'll have to clear out the roads. So there will be some people working, but these are people specialized with a special ability to be able to handle the snow, to drive in vehicles that are able to handle the snow. And it's going to cut down on accidents, it's cut down on insurance, it's going to cut down on deaths. But again, the problem here is they don't want to pay people to stay home, just like during the pandemic. The pandemic, they also didn't want to pay people to stay home, much less essential workers. We had maybe like a 2-week lockdown at most, and then that's it. And so, look, the problem here is it's our system, it's capitalism. Bad weather and snowstorms are always going to happen. So I don't know, maybe we should have policies that put human beings first instead of corporate profits. If it's too dangerous to travel, it's too dangerous to go to work. Pay people to stay home. Lives should be treated as more important than profit. And that's it.